That's rather than you, so don't worry too much about that. There were one or two actions from last time. I know that drumming was mentioned by Jane in Lye Valley Ward. Someone drums incessantly, it seems to people, and he was even practicing his drumming on Christmas Day. So I recently had an email, we followed that up with Safe for Oxford, and the neighbours want him to be more considerate in his drumming, rather than stopping it, but to be considerate. So later on in the meeting, there'll be time for you to ask us if there's anything in the ward, or the wards, I should say, that you want us to follow up. We can take a note of that, and we'll do that. The questions from last time are on the website. If you want to follow that, or if you want to see Simon at the end of the session, he can point that out to you. Now, we've got two topics this evening. Youth ambition, and Caroline Robbins will be talking to you about the Council's wide-ranging policies on youth ambition and its importance to us. And that vaguely ties in with what we were doing last time on antisocial behaviour, because obviously one strand of youth ambition is to prevent antisocial behaviour. And then secondly, we're looking at the various parks and open spaces in the three wards. So we'll be talking about that with a presentation from Ian on that too. So let's go ahead. I hope you know your councillors. David Henwood, Mohammed Abbasi, Christine Sim, John Sanders, County Councillor for the area, Pat Kennedy. Okay, so we'll start now.
Can we have the names of the
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, they'll introduce themselves as they speak, don't worry. Caroline?
There's a couple of questions. Do you want to take those now, or do you want me to just crack on?
Well, I think carry on with the presentation first.
Not a problem. So I won't start.
When will we have the questions, please?
After the presentations.
Thank you.
Hopefully you can all hear me. I don't need to stand up because I'm really tall, so I don't want to hurt your neck. I'm Caroline Robbins. I'm the Youth Engagement Officer for Oxford City Council, and I have two key responsibilities. One is increasing the power and influence of young people through a programme called Youth Voice, and then managing the Youth Ambition Grants programme. All of that kind of fits into a programme that we've got called Youth Ambition, and I did have a lovely slideshow, but I didn't want to kind of stick a projector in the middle of the room. So I'm just going to hold it. We will send this out so that you guys can have a flick through, so if you've got any questions later, you can email me afterwards. Just to set the scene, in February 2013, we started doing quite a lot of research around the children in needs, kind of the needs and a full needs analysis of what children and young people in the city want and need. We looked at data ranging from the number of young people involved in crime and antisocial behaviour. We looked at data around the number of young people being admitted into hospital. We looked at suicide rates. We looked at education and attainment. We looked at really anything that affects a young person. We also looked at the services that are available to them. Off the back of that, it became clear that there was a gap in support for 15 to 21-year-olds and up to 25-year-olds. The County Council has got predominantly the responsibility for supporting young children, and we thought there was maybe a gap supporting young people into adulthood. So that's where we've decided to focus our attention in the Youth Ambition Strategy. Just so that you know, we're currently completely reviewing the children and young people's needs analysis so that we know that what we're delivering is still accurate according to the needs of young people in Oxford. Based on that, we've got some very clear geographical areas where we work, and Cowley is increasingly becoming important in that list of priorities for various different reasons. So what we're doing is changing some of our grant processes so that Cowley organisations working with young people kind of get bumped up the list a little bit. As Pat has mentioned, one of the key things that we try and do through the Youth Ambition Strategy is to support young people not to become victims of crime and antisocial behaviour, but then also we support the perpetrators to try and re-engage them back into the community. And we also support victims of crime and antisocial behaviour and try and support them over any mental health issues that may occur having been a victim. We generally support young people to be more active and engaged, believing that being active and engaged in both your community and sport and physical activities and culture improves health and wellbeing outcomes. And we work really hard to support young people into education, employment and training opportunities. One of the key things, which is very closely linked to what I do, is increasing the power and influence of young people so that they have a real say over what it is that we do. We are constantly asking young people what they think of what we do, in the hope that what we're doing really does meet their needs. That very much focuses on young people being supported to be the change they want to see, rather than them us telling that we're not doing something right. It's about educating them and upskilling them so that they can go and make the change themselves. We believe that's more empowering for young people. It also gives them more skills and expertise so that when we've kind of finished with our programme, they're able to say, I've changed all of these things in my community and I can now do this, this and this in a job because of what I've done with us. So Youth Voice is one of the strands that we have. Youth Ambition Sports is another one, and we provide sports activities all across the city. They're all free. Young people can just drop in, get involved, and we do loads of stuff. And I kind of wish I was a kid so that I could go and do it. We then have Positive Futures, which does a lot more of the kind of youth work stuff. So we're looking at supporting young people through mentoring. We sit down with them and help them write CVs. We do mock interviews with them. We do financial management workshops with them, discuss sexual health and relationship education with them. Pretty much anything that a young person would want to talk about. In an afternoon, I've gone from talking about bus fares to talking about chlamydia. So it's pretty wide ranging. We then also have the Youth Ambition Grant, which has supported, somewhere in here, I've got the figure, 43 youth organisations through over 200k's worth of funds. So we're not doing too bad considering we've only been running the Youth Ambition strategy for about 18 months. We then also got links into the High Sheriff Challenge, which is around access sport, which is supporting sports clubs to be more sustainable and long term, so they don't have to keep coming back to us for funding. We're actually enabling them to become commercially stable themselves, which is nice, and hopefully will ease some of the pressure on our grant pot. So in Cowley specifically, we are delivering a Learn to Skateboard project with the Oxford Wheels programme. We've got Positive Futures, who deliver multi-sport sessions with the Oxford Spires Academy. And coming up, we've got BMXing, again with the Oxford Wheels project. And we've funded 7 organisations to the total of £36,000. And I can see one of them, hello, that we funded from Cowley. Not to pick you out or anything, but... So we're doing quite a lot in Cowley, and with the grants we are, as I said, we are changing the emphasis of where they sit. It's been quite generic for the last kind of 2 years. We're focusing more moving forward on reducing crime and antisocial behaviour and supporting victims of crime and antisocial behaviour, particularly in kind of preempting what will come out of the serious case review around the Bullfinch case. So we're really trying to make sure that we can support organisations to support victims of crime and potential perpetrators of crime, so that we can really stop that from happening before anybody becomes a victim at all. General successes for the Youth Ambition programme. We've secured, I'm going to read these so I apologise, there's quite a few. We've secured over £300,000 of external funding and in-kind support from various different funders. We run, I think it's more than this now, but it says 19 weekly sessions, so I'll stick with 19. We've supported over 6,000 individual young people to access our provision, whether it's delivered by us directly or organisations that we grant fund. 60% of the current staff that we have been vulnerable and disengaged young people that have been involved in our programme. So we really are offering young people the opportunity to go into work with us. So we're supporting them as much as we possibly can. And this year alone, we've supported 18 young people who were not in education, employment or training, otherwise known as NEET, to become EAT, which means that they are in education, employment and training. And there has been a noticeable reduction in crime and antisocial behaviour, which has been picked up by Christian Bunt and I'm going to get his title wrong, but he's a very important man in the police.
My boss.
There we go.
You better get his title right.
He says that what we're doing is great, so that's
He's the
nice.
commander, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
There we go, yes. So he likes what we're doing, so that's always
Very
good.
nice.
We also have a reward scheme called Bounce, so when young people come to our sessions they get points, and then the number of points they get means that they can get different rewards. So we're supporting them by rewarding them for engaging in positive activities, rather than just kind of expecting them to turn up because we think what we're doing is great. We've also worked with a group of young people to develop an app called Bungee, which is a cross-county app. And young people and us, we've sat down and worked together and pulled together all of the services across Oxfordshire into one place. So you can go onto the app and you can search for play, so that's anything kind of sports related. You can search for support, which might.
That's swimming pool. Thank you. And there is a link, I think, between closing a swimming pool and increasing violence. That's what I'm slightly worried about. Thank you.
But you can find out where there are other places to do activities on Bungee, because it's all there in one place. And young people actually have said that they really like it. Organisations and professionals have also said that it's a really positive thing. It enables them to refer them into services that perhaps they haven't known about before. So that's very positive. As I said before, we've supported 43 youth organisations through Youth Ambition grant funding. And this year we were awarded APSI 2014 Service Award for Best Sport, Leisure and Culture Team, and we were shortlisted for Children Young People Now Award, which in terms of youth work is a pretty big deal, but if you're kind of out of youth work you probably don't know what it is, but for us we're quite excited. We've also invested in a new system called SportWorks, which helps us work out what our return on social investment is. So we put in, and bless the young people for doing this, they fill in, every young person that works with us, they fill in a questionnaire. It's a bit lengthy, so we're trying to shorten it a bit. But they fill in the questionnaire to tell us about their lives. We then input that data into this programme called SportWorks, and 6 months later we ask them the same questions all over again and see what the difference is. Based on that and a ridiculously complicated algorithm, we've worked out that our programme has projected social return on investment to the value of £2.7 million, which we're quite pleased with. It is only projected, but we will be testing that in 5 months' time. So in 5 months' time I'll give you an actual number of our social return on investment. There has been tremendous support actually top down from our directors and from our councillors, and the openness to the council to listening to young people has been brilliant. Bungee entirely came from young people. We've invested really heavily in that programme, and we are continuing to change what we do based on what young people say, because as one, I think he was 12, one 12-year-old boy said to us, trying to develop something for young people without asking them is good, and it kind of is. So we really do listen to what young people say and are continually changing because of their input, which is great news. I'm going to stop waffling now. If any of you got any questions about Youth Ambition, then please feel free to ask. Hello.
I want to say something about Cowley Pools. I feel very sad of it being closed, because when I was little I went on my bike there for many years, and I don't like going in the car because it's a bit boring, and I find it, please can you open it again?
Any other questions about Youth Ambition? We dealt with Temple Cowley Pools so that the person there could go to bed early. I assume that's not such a problem for other people here, so perhaps we could carry on with the next presentation.
Ian, questions.
Well, we just have the 3 questions there.
I would imagine most of us are here to talk about the Temple Cowley Pools. But talking about the Youth Ambition, it's very interesting to hear your presentation. I am a member and I've been using the Temple Cowley Pools. A huge number of youth used to go to the Temple Cowley Pools.
Yes, indeed.
I am now gone for a few times to the Blackwood Leagues. I don't know how many of you are used to use the Temple Cowley Pools and how many of you now use Blackwood Leagues. But unfortunately, I used to use the gym and the exercise sessions here very regularly. As far as I can see, and maybe my eyesight isn't that good, but I don't see very many of, or I haven't seen any of the young people who used to use the gym here going to Blackwood Leagues. You were just talking about health, you were talking about sport, you were talking about all of the rest of it. What are we doing about improving and ensuring that there are facilities available to all of us to use the pool? I mean, you brushed us aside and said, don't want to talk about Temple Cowley Pools. But
all those young children who are going to get overweight, so they get crying because there's no swimming.
The reality is that a number of us
your
here
prowess.
are here to talk about that. So I would really request that sometime in your crowded program for today, you do give us a little bit of time to talk about the pools. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but the question about what are we doing about youth with to allow them access to sports facilities, given that we are shutting some of the facilities, and you say that you are providing that. So I just wanted to ask that question.
We are offering sports sessions in the area.
Where?
I'm not, as I said to you when I started, I'm not responsible for the sports sessions, but what I will do, out of this presentation, I will send out a list of all of the sports sessions that we run with locations and postcodes so that you can find them, and you can also download the app for free on Bungie, and they should be on there.
Where?
Where?
What?
Yeah.
When you,
Listen.
if you would be kind enough to give us your email address, we will forward you all of those venues, is that correct?
Yes,
And
yeah,
timings?
But that doesn't tell us where the young people are who are clearly not at Blackwood Leagues going to.
Oh, where are they?
Where are they?
We don't know.
Well, how do we know?
They disappeared, haven't they?
They just dropped out.
Television watching and staying at home and getting depressed and slowly turning towards crime perhaps. This is a glaring contradiction. In your campaign, you've described to us your prowess, your achievement, your 2.6 million projected return. But I ask you, in order to avoid this horrendous contradiction between closing a pool and furthering youth in the area, I would ask you, please, did you do a straw poll among the hundreds, possibly thousands of children in this area, locally, as this young girl, for example, so classically exemplifies, who find themselves now unable to swim? This was your gift to these kids. Now, what encouraged you to take that pool from them, knowing that pools energize, marshal the spirit, render athletic, give kids initiative, keep them out of the sweet factory, keep them off the television couch, and ultimately, as they go into their teens and life gets dangerous for them, they have a habit of health and excellence and prowess, so they can say no to drugs, they can say no to crime. What have you done? Did you straw poll those kids in the area who are crying about this pool being closed? Because if you didn't, your campaign rests upon nothing.
I wasn't around at the time of all the consultations. I apologise, I've only been with the council.
These were, though.
A little while.
Yes, the councillors were actually.
The councillors were here, the councillors voted to close it.
You know very well that straw poll wasn't done.
Why not? Why not? Heavens above.
May she answer the question?
Thank you.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm saying, you know as well as I do that the straw poll wasn't done. And clearly, if you go around and ask people, do you want the pool to close? The answer is going to be no. There were other considerations that had to be brought to bear. The pool had 12,000 people there this weekend. It was open. It was free, of course. Things were set down, and no doubt people will find their way to the new pool. If they got into the habit of swimming, they'll want to continue with the habit of swimming, I'm sure.
Can I just say something? I just wanted to say that I think that's very well if you're, a car user and you're coming back at other times. In our case, we're actually coming back previous years, as Iona said, she cycled to the pool, which was good for her, and there are lots of other local people who cycle to the pool. And actually, now people are driving. It's actually taking a lot more time to go to the police pool. And it's not, whichever way you dress it, some people don't have bikes, whichever way you want to say it, it has felt like an untransparent process. I'm very, very sorry to say. I've been a Labour supporter myself all my life, and I just feel completely disheartened by the way that this has been handled. I'm very sorry to say, and the fact that now people are having to say, I can't get to that pool, it's too late in the evening. The swimming lessons, the children's swimming lessons are during the week, and they finish at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then, if you want to hear about young people's views on this, and also parents' views, children are coming home tired. It's not an impossible thing to get to the Lees pool, I'm not going to make that out. But it is a significant obstacle. It is not the same. We all know we need to move with the times and have change. But I cannot see, I have no problem with it being a Lees pool, but why did we have to lose our local pool?
Can I take up your point about the swimming times? You're saying that the times are unsuitable, or?
No, I'm not saying they're unsuitable. I'm just saying that when we came to the Cowley pool, when we came to the general times are after school, obviously, and so because we lived round the corner, we were very lucky. But it's not just us; lots of people who use Cowley Pool. We're on the way to Headington, between Cowley, Headington. People from Donington Bridge who came to Temple Cowley Pool. We could get back by bike, or we could get back on foot. We were home. The lessons were between 4 and 5 o'clock ish. And then we were home by 5:15, 5:30. Now the lessons are starting at 4:30. By the time we've actually come back in the traffic, obviously we've lost the benefit of the cycling as well, which obviously we know all about health and so on. We're back by 6:15. By the time we've got changed, had the lesson, driven back in the traffic, there is a delay. It is not the same experience that you have.
Of course, it's amazing.
Can I just add one other thing just into the equation, which is about safety for children and the rivers. Because we know that because this pool has been taken away, there is a significant area where people won't go swimming, where they did in the past, and new people growing up won't go swimming. And there will indubitably be more serious accidents in the rivers. So,
can I just pick up on the safety point? Young people, a group called Film Oxford that's quite local to here, have made their own film about water safety, and they've taken that into the schools themselves. So they've kind of picked up on that themselves, and they're trying to solve it. And although I kind of see your wider point in terms of water safety, young people have been empowered to be able to kind of try and solve that issue themselves, for not just because of this school, but for a wider.
Maybe some of them can swim, the ones you're working with. In the future, there will be fewer coming out of this area that will be able to swim.
I would also like to take it away from not just the pools. There are also other facilities available to us at the Temple Cowley Pools, particularly around exercise classes. The league, if you look at the timetable at the moment, it tends to focus on classes for the youngsters, for those below 25 to 30. Yeah, you have kickboxing and you have, all sorts of other things. The sorts of classes that were available to a wide range of people are no longer available at Leeds. Leeds, it would appear, if you look at their exercise timetable, are wanting, or would appear to want to, compete with the David Lloyds of the world. While here we did have a huge range of facilities available in the types of classes.
Could I just stop you there? Because obviously the Leeds is still trying to plan its programme. So if there are particular classes that you'd like to see, then email Mike Bowie or one of your councillors to let them know what classes you want, because clearly they're still trying to work out what people want, how many people want the classes, and so on. So they're still at that stage of trying to work out what the best mix is. So if you feel your interests are being particularly missed out, then it's important that you let someone know so that can be taken on board. I mean, I know, for example, that people have been complaining about pressure in the showers, people have been complaining about hair dryers, parking, all sorts of things. So it's important that we know so we can make the changes.
No,
Who's got the campaign? Because we need to move on and deal with some other issues.
I would just like to ask, I don't know who you are, and I don't know who's a council employee, who's a councillor, so I thought it would be rather nice if you could say who you are.
Oh, we'll go through again.
I'm John Sanders, I'm the County Councillor for Cowley, but I have to put my excuse that the county has got no input into Temple Cowley Pools.
I'm Christine Sim and I'm City Councillor for Cowley.
I'm the Bassi, also for Cowley Marsh.
David Henwood, Cowley Ward.
I'm Pat Kennedy, Lythe Valley.
My name is Simon Howick. I'm the Head of Human Resources at Oxford City Council. It's my job to convene this meeting, take away any action points and try to progress them, make sure that the notes are fed back on the website. So that's my role here today.
Good evening everybody, I'm Ian Thompson. I have the pleasure of working for the Leisure Parks and Communities team. My job is I manage the operational team.
I'm Caroline Robbins and I'm also part of the Leisure Parks and Communities team, specifically Sport and Youth, and I'm the Youth Engagement Officer.
And my name's Jarlath. I work with Simon. My role specifically, I do feed into some youth engagement. I'm responsible for our apprenticeship programme.
If I could ask you one, if I could ask you all one question, and that was something that Pat asked, but we never got round to getting an answer for it. How many people here have not come to discuss the Temple Cowley Pool thing? I'd like to know that because this meeting. Thank you. So the whole structure of this meeting is pointless because you want to talk about Temple Cowley Pool, which I point out seems to me to have now been closed, and we want to talk about what we're doing for Cowley.
Excuse me, I object to it being called pointless. You are our representative.
It's not our nonsense.
Which you can realise has caused some aggrievement. And I don't see it's pointless to come and meet you when you are available.
Unfortunately.
Now, I know you want to present, and I'm very pleased you presented this particular bit. It was very interesting. And I think there's one other matter you want to present. But to be told we're pointless...
I didn't tell you we're pointless. I said that this meeting seems to be pointless because
it is not pointless.
Not to us it isn't.
To you it is.
To you it's pointless.
Let's listen to the people. What I'm going to suggest is, why don't you say what you want to say and we'll answer you. And perhaps we won't talk about any of this other stuff because you're not interested.
Well, it's already
Does that make
programmed,
sense?
so I think we should.
Okay.
Can I just quickly?
Yes,
We are very, very well aware of the strength of feeling about the pool closing.
Why didn't you listen the first time?
We would not, we...
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
You
ignored us.
You can't answer the question. If you have a question, wait. Please ask it. Please allow us to answer the question.
We are very, very well aware of the strength of feeling in this locality about the pool closing. It has not been an easy decision to make. It has been a sleepless nights type of decision. But what you need to understand is that you are not the only voices that we as local councillors hear. We hear other voices as well. We hear the voice of people that have got nowhere to live or whose children have got nowhere to live. We hear the voice of people that live in other parts of the city.
Services by 38%.
Thank you.
We're not. That was the county council that cut those services, not Oxford City.
City has cut the swimming pool. All Labour councillors.
We're going back to that old thing again, aren't we? If you allow us to finish, you can make a point.
I've finished.
But if you,
I've finished.
If they got a swimming pool, I believe it's at Marston, and they got a swimming pool at Barton, maybe got a swimming pool for Bradford Leeds, why can't you build us a new one here?
Yeah.
You had a question?
Yes, please.
Right.
Firstly, thanks for all the work you've done. has been properly acknowledged here. As I understand, there's a wash of emotion. Kids are difficult to work with, and you put in up front.
Yeah, look at you lot.
Everybody a lot of time and effort, and actually brings value to these kids, so thank you for that. And secondly, what is the best way for my team to refer kids into you?
How about I give you my card, and then we can have a chat outside of this meeting and sort that referral route out.
Okay.
Can I widen the subject and bring certain things to light? If I heard you correctly, you were referring to, in your presentation, to a lot of help for youngsters who have had a rough time. There are a lot of others, and they also need help. Now, the pools is only one thing, the gym is another, but there are other facilities. And as I understand it, as a resident all my life of Cowley and a member of this church, I'm right in the middle of the argument. And we have Bocado Press with a possible change of use. I think there's a notice on the telegraph pole which suggests that there might be planning in the future. We have 41 or is it 47 units going on the pool. We have the Macmillan Publishing accommodation, which was not accommodation. The Conservative headquarters in Cowley, also possibly accommodation, more than likely. We've got the Cowley Centre, community centre, completely gone, and we shall have a facility as big as this room, no larger, with one small kitchen. That will be our community assembly point, apart from facilities which are available in the various church halls and the social club. Now, if we have accommodation on all those locations, never mind the pool and the gym which is gone, what other facilities are going to be available? We haven't got a unitary authority, unfortunately, so the pool could not be extended into the county because the county wouldn't allow it. That would have solved a lot of problems. I'm young enough to remember that this was going to be, and the Cowley Pools and Cox's Yard and where the band hut is, that was going to be Cowley Centre, Cowley Community Centre. But Adolf Hitler decided to come along and upset the apple cart for a few years, and everything's changed and Cowley changed. For the better perhaps, but we did have, those of us who can remember, a community centre.
Marvellous community centre.
Rose Hill has got a lot of money spent on it. Barton has had a lot.
Northway.
What about Cowley? Where are the facilities for all these people that, yes, people do need accommodation. I'm with it. But at the same time, if you're going to put 1,000 more people into Cowley, and we've already gone up, I understand, by 30%, since the pool's problem started for the council, where are the other facilities going to be to assist the community? One added point, please remember that some people are old enough not to want or have a computer. So could we have hard copy put on the information sheet outside the libraries? And a telephone number. We still like to speak to people.
Answer the question.
Where are the facilities going to be?
Well, should we mention the new gymnasium?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, there is going to be development at Spires Academy. The negotiations, I think they've just been completed, so that there'll be community access to the gym at Spires Academy.
Where is Spires Academy?
Glanville Road. Oxford Boys School.
There always has been. I learned to play badminton there, and people have always been able to play badminton.
It's nothing new.
It's It's a new facility actually, but yeah, it's the same idea.
Same place. Where's the swimming pool?
And
what hours for the public? Where's the community
It'll be outside, we're negotiating with the school on that, of course.
In addition to that, in Cowley Airfield, we are going to build a brand new BMX park. Sorry? The question was, what facilities are you going to provide?
We talking about BMX and all that, we're about kids going to
No, sorry. No, let me go. The question was, what facilities are you going to provide for the use? And I was trying to explain
everyone.
No, for everyone.
For everyone.
So, to answer that question, I was trying to explain we're going to provide new play equipment in that park. We're going to provide a new BMX park for the total cost of about £120,000.
About the community centre?
That would be an accredited park, the first in Oxfordshire.
What about the community centre?
Right.
The community centre, I think.
Sorry?
If you want the
No,
question,
just stand up. Diving pool was the only diving pool in Oxford.
Could you go back one? I couldn't quite hear the question. Something about the community centre?
I said the community centre is gone.
Yes.
The community centre had an assembly hall, a dance hall. It originally had no bar. Forget the bar. What about the space?
It had a lot more than that. It had a youth club that ran upstairs.
It had a separate youth club.
It was fantastic.
And the classes.
Listen.
All gone.
Can I just suggest on the
strict labour.
Can I just suggest on the community centre issue? The gentleman's made the point about Rose Hill, Barton. I'll take that action back and I'll find out what plans, if any, there are around a community centre for Cowley.
We already know.
The whole point is
We are working closely with Great Square to set up a reference group of local people, which I hope some of you will want to be involved in, to try and make the best of the space that we have. I can't wave a magic wand and bring that community centre back. All I can do is say to you, we'll try and make it work the best we can for local people who want you to be involved in that process.
And there's a big petition to bring the community centre back via the Safe TCP group as well, which seems to have been ignored.
Right, thank you. Can we carry on now with the presentation about the parks, please? Well then, come back to the questions on the pool. We've had quite a lot of discussion.
It's not a pool.
Right, no, if it's about the pool, no. Have you got a general question? Yes. Quiet. I said we're moving on to presentations now. Thank you.
Sorry, can I just make one last question?
About what?
It's about what you said regarding the youth. Is that?
Yes, carry on.
Okay, very quick one. You mentioned the victim support and the perpetrators. Are you going around the route of what we call restorative justice? How do they engage?
So we, as a team, we're not experts in restorative justice.
Right.
So we refer young people into services that are. And YOS, for example, the Young Offending Service, refer into us so that we can look at the more holistic package around the young person. So where restorative justice is something that would be relevant, we work with the appropriate service to make that happen and support the young people through that. So we have something called active referral management, which is rather than just making a referral and expecting the young person to go to that service, we will take them every time until they feel comfortable with that service, and then we'll let them get on with it. So we're not trying to be everything to everybody, because we know that we just fundamentally can't do that. So it's very much about partnership work with everything that we do for young people. And where there are experts, we do believe that restorative justice, where it's appropriate, is a good idea.
Okay.
And ideally, we would like to obviously stop the crime having been committed in the first place. But if that doesn't happen, restorative justice would be where we would ideally like to go with our partners.
Could I just add something to that? I mean, within the Youth Offending Service, we have Pete Wallace, who heads up the Restorative Justice Programme, and he is an absolute pioneer in this work and has written books about it and is acknowledged as sort of one of England's leading people. And he's done amazing stuff. I mean, not just the sort of small, I mean, I say low level, but that doesn't mean it's not significant. I mean, he's done work even with people, you know, whose children have lost their lives. So it's very flourishing, and I really hope that the County Council will be able to keep that going, because it's really impressive stuff.
Right, Ian?
So, could you please have a question from the family?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just wanted to ask a final question because we're going now.
Right, okay.
It's just about the process. In terms of, we talked a lot about, what's going to be provided for Cowley, BMX Park and whatever else. And I'm just coming back to the idea, can we as local residents please be consulted with as a whole, it's a request, so that those things that are put in are going to be the ones that we actually feel, obviously in consultation, we'd like to be with yourselves, but so that there is a fair and just process. And on that, whether it's a pool, whether it's a BMX park, whatever it is, because we're hearing about BMX park, I'm sure that's appreciated by a section of the population. Possibly it's been straw polled and it's what the young people want. Great, I'm not against that. But can we, as a whole in Cowley, please be consulted? And that also goes. I'm going to shut up about pool now, perhaps, because I know you want me to shut up about pool. But I am just going to say one final thing on it, which is that I'm extremely, I feel extremely put out and disrespected in the sense that I might arrive at that pool and find it boarded up, that there is no notice given as to when that pool is shutting. Those who were not on the campaign did not know that it was shutting. People turned up, families turned up, and that is not a democratic way of working. And a final word on that issue, if you want to be political about it, I find it extremely disrespectful the way, and I'm sorry to say this, and you know who I'm talking to here, I am looking, you're chairing the meeting, Pat, but I have worked with you on issues in our local community before. I've delivered leaflets for the Labour Party. I'm not used to being spoken to and being told to shh. That is not democracy, and on that note, I'm going now. Thank you very much for your
Hi there.
Hello.
As I said before, I'm Ian Thompson. I've had the pleasure of being the Parks Operational Manager and working for the Leisure Parks Communities team. I have done a presentation. The presentation was going to say a lot of things about what we have in Oxford, what we've got going in Oxford, and how our teams are working. Also then how that links into what we're doing in and around your area. At the end of it, I was going to ask anybody that wants to say any questions about my presentation. More than happy to carry on doing that if that's what you'd like to hear.
No.
What I am happy to do then, if you've got questions, I can give some bullet points about what we're doing in and around certain parks within this area, because I know feedback about litter, feedback about damage, feedback about investment. I can give you a little bit of that if that just shortens what I was going to speak about, if that's of any benefit.
Well, perhaps you could answer some of the questions I asked.
Right. In relation to the Cowley area, a lot of consultation has been done recently about investment onto Holloway Recreation Ground. Lots of consultation has been done there about what people in the area want to see in there. We've put a REN bid in to get some external funding to put a fit trail in there to improve health and well-being. Those of you that live in and around this area at the moment, hopefully you've gone down to Cowley Marsh and seen that fantastic fit trail we've got in there. It's like an outdoor gym. Cowley Marsh was the first one in Oxford, very, very, very well used, and the feedback was that good. We've gone and invested in more around the city. We've now got 5 around the city as part of the development in this area, Holloway Recreation Ground. Hopefully Pat seems to think the REN bid went through. I'm going to double check on that when I get back to the office tomorrow. If it has, we've got the money to put a trail in there. What we have found with fitness trails is the youth of today tend to enjoy going in there and having a go when they're in the parks. It seems to work very well. So again, we've got one in South Parks, which again is on the doorstep for you around here. We're moving forward on there. Cowley Marsh, just down the road, lots of investments has taken place over the last couple of years on the marsh. Over £100,000 has been committed and spent on the sports pavilion to bring it up to modern day standards. Those of you that need to book a meeting room or anything, in there is the old cricket room in the middle. It will seat about 30 people, and we are more than happy to rent it out to the local community. It's a fantastic facility, just that heating put in. You can roll the shutters up, have a meeting there, and look out into a beautiful park.
How much?
How much? It's £17 an hour if you want to book it. If it's for a specialist group, £17 an hour. For a specialist group or a charity, there is a reduction for that. But again, it will seat about 25 to 30 people. It's heated. You can roll the shutters up and you've got a lovely view over a park. In the evening and at weekend there is parking there. As we all know, during the daytime, anybody going past there, parking is a problem. But for evening, weekends, there's plenty of parking. And while you're there, you've got a fantastic facility in the park to go and use. The play area in the park was refurbished a couple of years ago. Across the city, Oxford has refurbished 70 play areas at the cost of over £2 million. In and around this area, you're very lucky that there's been money spent in Florence Park, money spent in Cowley Marsh, there's more money going to be spent up at Holloway, 100 Acre Park's been refurbished, Cowley Marsh has had a great play area in there. Moving forward on the play area at Cowley Marsh, in the next 2 weeks, those of you that like tennis can go down there. Over the years we had so many vandalised tennis nets. Local councillor has pushed forward to us to get anti-vandal ones. It's cost £3,600 for 2 anti-vandal tennis nets, but hopefully people can go down there at no cost and play a game of tennis. So one of the complaints that people have had in and around the area is to do sports and having to go to Florence Park at peak times. The kiosks open and you have to pay. So what we've done is, at the request of the local councillors and them helping generate the money, we've spent the money to anti-vandal nets going up in the next 2 weeks, so be there for the kids' half term. One of the other areas that's been picked up on antisocial behaviour in the past is the John Allen Centre and the back of there. I don't know whether we've got any representatives here from CARA.
Yeah.
Hi, you can speak to colleagues of mine, Chris Bell and other people.
We're very, very pleased with what's been done. There's lighting and...
The lighting's been done, there's tree work been done, there's lots of shrub work. Again, it's the councillors have helped lead on it. It's working with the Leisure Parks Communities team, working with Clara and getting funding in to put the lighting in and open the space up. Over the next few weeks we're going to be doing some more patrols in there to hit the last bit of antisocial behaviour. I'm not sure whether people have been around and seen these new fantastic big belly bins that we've got around the city. They look like big TARDISes that are around. They've got a solar panel on the top. These bins are very clever. They actually send a signal to us to tell us when they're full, when they need emptying. They've also got a compactor in there, so to reduce the waste you can get an extra 30 to 40% waste in there. It compacts it. Sends a message, tells you when it needs opening. What we have found with the John Allen Centre is that when it's getting full, appears to be between 10 o'clock and midnight, which is not a time that we have park keepers in or park rangers in that are able to go and deal with that. But it's telling us that there's obviously a usage there. The police that unfortunately have had to shoot off now, this is information we're sharing with the police to again allow them to perhaps up their patrols to do with antisocial behaviour. So it's all linking in with the work that we're doing, trying to deal with healthier lifestyles, better lifestyles, areas that people want to go to. Across the city, the Park Ranger Service empty hundreds of bins every day. One of the stats that I was going to share with you, which is not one of the nicest of stats, we have 179 dog bins around the city. Last year, the Park Rangers cleared 50 tonnes of excrement. Each skip costs £1,000 because it has to be incinerated. So people often complain to us about dog mess here, there and everywhere. We are dealing with it. Just in this ward alone, we issued 10 fixed penalty notices for dog fouling in the last 12 months. A fixed penalty notice is if somebody allows their dog to foul, walks away and is caught. So we can't be in all places at once, but I think across the city, 40 were issued last year, 10 within this ward. So I think that's shown we are targeting the hot spots. I'm trying to think what else we've got going on just in this ward so I don't start saying other things. Events. Cowley Airfield doesn't come under the City Council, Cowley Airfield.
Oh, it's
but across the road from that, we have got Sandy Lane Sports Pavilion, Sandy Lane Sports Ground. We've got the Sports Pavilion there. That's currently in the process of being refurbished. That pavilion was built in 1976, I'm led to believe, and since 1976, all it's had done is basic repairs. What we're doing at the moment is spending just over £120,000. Putting a new roof, an air recycling system in, new boilers, so we can get more teams playing football. We're putting facilities in there so we can actually have boys and girls playing as well. Because at the moment there's only one set of toilets in there, so if men are playing, under the Child Protection Act, you can't have men and boys playing. Also, one set of toilets, you can't have girls playing. So to actively push and get more children involved in playing sports, hopefully when they get involved, they then take it through to in their 20s, to keep them active, keep them occupied, keep them off the street. We're investing in sports pavilions. We're also, with our colleagues in the leisure department, we are working with the sports development team to actively involve more people to become coaches, to get people that are a little bit past the sell-by date playing football to come back in and teach kids how to play it. So we're actively working on that as well. And it's all, again, trying to work with what Caroline said, getting people active, getting people involved in sports. And I do appreciate, and I've listened to what you've said about Temple Cowley Pool, but on the parks and leisure community side, we're doing an awful lot of work in the parks, an awful lot of work with sports teams to try and get facilities available for people to use, and that's across the whole city. Oh yes, sorry. I will come to questions in a minute. If you can just let me finish first. I've got 3 people that I've seen. 4 people now. Oh, it's getting busier. 5 people now. I will come back to you shortly. Lye Valley. Lye Valley, it's a lovely place. I don't know if many people have gone down there. It's actually a triple SI site. It's registered with the government. It's a site of specific scientific interest. So we are governed to what legally we can and can't do there. We can't build on there. We can't do anything without permission from the Secretary of State and other people. What we have done is spent £40,000 to make it more accessible for people. There's a nice boardwalk gone in there. The boardwalk we chose to go in there was made out of recycled plastic, so it's recycled goods that have gone in there. Got a long lifespan with it. We also did buy spares in case any of it gets damaged or anything at the same time with the bid, so in a few years' time, rather than closing an area, we've already got spares to fix it. So trying to be proactive rather than reactive. This boardwalk allows you to walk throughout the year. You'll be able to see different things growing, different wildlife in there. What we're also looking at doing is trying to work with any groups that want to work with us, anybody that's got interest in that area, to try and put some notice boards in there, to actually say what's in there. As a department, we've got a countryside ranger team. It's a team that's now down to 3. We've got one of them, a gentleman called Carl, that's absolutely desperate to get volunteers in, get volunteers working in the area and getting involved. So we will, as part of the minutes, put a link in there to how people can become volunteers and actually actively work in our park, actually help on a lot of the things that we're doing. On another positive note, if you've been down to Cowley Marsh, you've seen over the last 6 to 9 months we've re-edged all the paths and made them a lot more accessible. That was done using the community payback, the old probationers, that were people in and around this area that have caused the problems, part of the community payback. We do a lot of work with them now. We've called them in, they've edged it all off, so there's been no cost to the council. They've come in, they've edged it all off and made the paths a lot more accessible for people with disabilities, people that are not quite so good on their feet, that can walk around in safety now. It's called Cowley Marsh for a reason. It gets very wet on the mud, so we've now got a nice path to do a nice loop and keep fit and active. Right, the gentleman in red, I think, was the first one to put his hand up.
Yeah, right, you're talking about rubbish, bins. I go for regular walks around the area and the bins are always overflowing. One by the offices, bottom of Knowles Road is always overflowing, it don't get emptied very often.
Okay, can I just hold you just there for 1 moment? There's 2 areas with the council. There's the parks area that do litter picking. There's also street scene. Street scene is managed by direct services. Unfortunately, not the same department as me.
Yeah.
If I know people have said they don't have the ability to go online. There is a online link that you can go to with street scene that you can actually report any bins that don't get emptied. What we can also do, again, as part of these minutes, for those that are going to be given a section of the minutes, we can actually put a contact name in there. Oxford City Council is leading the way in a lot of authorities to try and deal with litter, and if there's hot spots that are being missed, sometimes in the parks we've got sites that we litter pick on perhaps twice a week. We then find it's not enough, so we then litter 3 times a week. But there is a limited resource. So if we give you the details for
I've got
street scene, you've got Doug. It's his team. That's right. It's his
I
team
spend
do
a lot
that.
of time emailing about various areas, and there's not enough bins around the area.
Yeah, so
I've
unfortunately,
spoken to Christine and Doug, they know my...
yeah, unfortunately I can't answer questions on that because that comes under street scene. Street scene, for those that don't know, street scene manage all the litter and do an exceptional job on the whole around the city. There are hotspots like that, but on the whole they do an excellent job. So street scene do the litter bins, street scene look after the pavements, look after the highways, look after the grass verges. Sorry? Some of the highways, yeah. Section 42 highways. I work for the Parks Department. We manage park, open spaces, cemeteries, countryside sites.
Right, Shiver Country Park, the bins over there are always overflowing, they need more bins there, especially around the car parking area. Right. They need to be emptied on a regular basis.
The bins there are emptied twice a week, 3 times a week. We have installed a big belly bin up there, and for next year you will see in the car park area we're going to be installing some 1100 wheelie bins, the big ones up there in the car park. They're going to be fastened to the fence so they don't get rolled down Old Road, which is where they'll end up. So this year we've been doing consultation. The feedback has been that litter's an issue. Also for next year up at Shotover to help deal with the litter, and say help deal with it, hopefully it's not going to generate anything, but we're out to tender at the moment to try and get somebody to come in and do an ice cream type van up there, and as part of their remit is the top field and around that area is keeping it as clean and tidy as possible. So we've put a tender out to try and get somebody to come up there, sell drinks, ice creams, because at the moment there's unauthorised people who keep turning up. We're trying to get it licensed. Trying to get somebody up there formally with a licence, with an agreement, and with set targets they've got to achieve. So hopefully, with what you've said, fingers crossed, we'll have dealt with it next year.
Can I just say that most ice cream vendors have to be licensed anyway?
Yeah.
They do. Oxford City licensed people within the city. The downfall that we've got to Shotover is if you go up Old Road, when you get to the car park at the top, part of the Shotover comes under South Oxford District Council and not the city. So when you get to that car park at the top, if you park on the left-hand side, you can get to South Oxford. And that seems to be where unlicensed vendors go. If they go anywhere else, we can deal with them. So hence the reason what we're doing is we spoke to South Oxford. South Oxford are supporting us to get a vendor up there because it will help with the complaints they're getting from unlicensed people. So you're perfectly right in what you say.
Yeah.
Okay, can I move on to somebody else? One more, please.
One more thing. Dog muck. Why have you got an incinerator? Why can't it be dug in the ground, composted?
The reason it can't is because people put it into bags that aren't recyclable. They then put it into a bag that we collect it with that's not recyclable. So that's what has to be incinerated. It's not a nice thing to look about. If you actually look at the bins, they have a very thick, dark blue bag inside them bins.
Yeah.
It's just for that purpose. It is, so when our staff lift it out, it doesn't split.
Yeah.
We did try recycle, we did try bins that could be composted, but they just aren't up to it. So when you go to pick them out, it ends up everywhere and it's more of a mess.
Yeah.
So we would love to be able to, we manage the allotments around the city as well, so we'd love to be able to recycle it and help out and put it into compost, but unfortunately it's not possible.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think it's the lady here.
Okay, first of all, it's good to hear that there are lots of different things happening and that the council are looking to do a lot of different things. A couple of things I'd like to bring up. One is, again, listening to you about all of the different facilities being made available. There's certainly a huge focus on the youth, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but again, there needs to be thinking given as well to the other age groups.
Community.
Yeah, but it's not all of us can use it. So while I say it's a good thing, and I have no problem with that, it's of no use to me.
Okay, what I'd like you to do then is feed back to us with the type of thing that you would like to see in our parks. Because
Swimming pool. Swimming pool.
What we have here, we want that. We want that. And I'm sorry that it's.
Sorry, but so.
It's what you're doing is a grand job, and there's nothing good. I think is wrong, and certainly the effort and the motivation and the innovation that you've been talking about is to be commended. There's no question about that. But I'm bringing it back to the councillors to say that, yeah, you're looking at the youth, you're looking at the footballers, you're looking at the ones who want to do trailblazing. You're not looking at what it is that we want in this community. I'm hearing about all kinds of refurbishing happening everywhere else. Why is it that the councillors don't seem to think the views of this community and what we want is important? And having 47 families having houses here is seen as much more important than the health of the youth, the not so young, and the middle-aged, and the very old, who were using the park. So I'm sorry we are pushing you aside, and I'm pulling them back.
If I can just
Your work
say,
is great.
what I would like to hear is, excluding the pool, please, but other ideas of what we can put in the park. Because if you go to camp, as I said before, we've got the community payback to open the pathways up, so you've got a nice walk around the park. We're doing work down there to make it more biodiversity, so you're getting more daffodils, you're getting more flowers, you're getting more butterflies and
Which
stuff.
is a jolly good thing.
Which is what we've had feedback from more mature people that said that's what they'd like to see there. So over the next year you'll
But
see
it's not an
slightly
either
longer
or.
track.
It's not an either or.
No. What we are on the park side, we are listening to what people are asking for.
And that's a great thing.
We've got, I know he's not a councillor anymore, but Councillor Khan got money together and invested in, and we've got the cricket nets down there for the local community, because it's something that was asked for. It's the only set of cricket nets in Oxford, but the local community wanted it. We've managed to achieve that.
And that's a great thing.
We are trying to do things that are in normal park remit to meet the need.
Yeah.
Then we didn't
what
have
we
a
can do is
councillor that
part of
wanted
this,
the
we will
pool.
give you an email address, which is parks@oxford.gov.uk, but what we'll also do is give you our parks office number and address. So if you've got feedback on what you would like to see, if you can send it through to the parks office. We have a young lady called Caroline Shanides. She's our development officer. She will look at it. We will look at what comes back. We then liaise with local councillors on a regular basis. We liaise with community groups. In Florence Park, we've got the Friends of group. We liaise regularly with. We've got South Park. We've got a user group there. Heddens Hill Park, a user group there that we liaise with regularly to see what they want in the park and what events that we can bring to them.
I want to ask about the park. I go to Florence Park. You said about, and I emailed the Parks Department. It took me 3 months to answer my email.
And what's that relation to?
That was relating to cycling, because I go with a group of older people every day to Florence Park. We're nearly mown down with cyclists because they go so fast. It would be all right if they took a nice sort of. Why is it Florence Park? Why don't they go down North Oxford to Cuxlow Park? No.
They do. They do in all the parks.
They do in all the parks.
It's something that's
I've been to Cuxlow and I never see a cyclist. Because they're going through at a speed to get from one area to the other.
One of the problems we've got with that, I do apologise, and I'd like to apologise on behalf of parks that it took so long to get a response.
Ian, I don't know if it was you or not.
If it was 3 months, it was very good. Normally I'm 6 months. My apologies for that. With the cycling, one of the issues with the cycling is that a lot of people have asked us to ban cycling completely in a park and police it. If we ban cycling in the park, how many of us around this room actually learn to ride a push bike in a park in a safe environment?
Yeah, that's a child.
It is, but what we did do at one point, and going back, I've worked for the Parks Department for more years than I like to remember, and I can recall about 12 to 15 years ago, we had a purge on cycling in Florence Park. And we then started stopping people coming through the main stretch through where the chestnut trees are, stopping them coming through. We actually put little chicanes in to try and slow it down. And the feedback we got was that it was a negative feedback because people wanted to learn to cycle, people wanted to cycle. It was trying to get that balance right. What we are doing as we go forward as a department in all of our green flag parks, so Hinksey, Florence, Bury Knoll, Blackbird Leys and Cutslow, is we have somebody based in there most days of the week. We're now educating the member of staff, so Florence Park is Ian Oliver at the moment, educating him that when he sees people racing through a park, he challenges them.
Who is he?
Ian Oliver's the on-site gardener. He's worked in there for about 18 months now.
Yeah, I know.
You know Ian? Yeah? So we're part of his remit going forward for this summer.
I've never seen him ask anybody.
No, but that's what we're working on now, is audibly. We're doing a training programme for our staff to what's expected of them in the park. Then he might be a very good horticulturalist, but we expect the next bit up now. We expect him to be not just making sure the park is lovely to win the Green Flag Award, we expect him to be dealing with issues of antisocial behaviour, and cycling the park, cycling through at unreasonable speed is antisocial behaviour. All of our
swear
people.
at you as well, you know, get out of their way.
Ian, can I just sorry, university parks, you're not allowed, presumably that's owned by the university.
It's owned by the university.
You're not allowed to cycle
You're not allowed to
there.
take cycles in
You
there.
have to dismount, exactly. So, I mean, I think it can be quite intimidating, actually. And I mean, I get what you're saying about people learning to cycle, and that's really important, but that we're probably talking about children. I mean, couldn't we think about experimenting, maybe we're having a designated area of the park which was a little learner cycling bit, but not have it as a cut through?
As a suggestion going forward, how about we get that put through, we then go and speak to the Friends of Florence Park, which is the group, and ask them to see what their thoughts are. If they would like to take it forward, we can put it into our management plan and then look at how best we can do it.
Because it's not supposed to be a road.
The thing is, how do we police it? Especially when the gardeners on site from in the summer months, 7 o'clock in the morning through till 4 o'clock. And how do we police it during the daytime and then it being mirrored in the evening? Because we only have a team of 5 park rangers that are responsible for all the parks. They go in and out at night time. If you use Florence Park on a regular basis, you probably know Audrey.
I know Audrey, yeah.
And if you know Audrey will challenge anybody.
It's worth having a look at.
It's worth having a look at, but what we've got to be mindful of is how do we police it? And again, I don't have the answers. I'm happy to have feedback on ideas. And whether it's using the Friends of group to help us wear a tabard, to go around and help us to police it, what ideas can come forward. We're here to learn. We don't have all the answers, so it's a good idea.
Can I ask who these friends are?
The Friends of
It's Florence Park. I'm a member of that. It's a Florence Park users group that meets about once every 3 months.
But how do you get in contact with them?
If you look on the notice board at the community centre, and actually notice boards, sorry, that was one of my things I was going to ask, we're just so short of notice boards in the area. So all of these things that are going on that are just so interesting, and we haven't got enough notice boards to tell us that these things are happening. But it is, if you give me your email afterwards, I'll pass on the details. Otherwise it could go in the contact number could go in the...
That's a really good idea, because it also relates to the point that you were making about things for older people, because actually there's a lot of things going on for older people, outdoor things, but maybe we're not getting that out there as well as we could, so notice boards would be good.
Sorry, the lady on the camera at the back, you were very patient, you had your hand up a minute ago, my apologies, it's taking a bit of time to come to you.
There's several points, I may or may not remember all of them. You talked about Lye Valley SSI.
Site, yes.
Yeah. I guess most people here don't think of Lye Valley as Cowley, and certainly when I moved there, it wasn't Cowley, it was still Headington, and it's only politically that they've changed the boundaries, and they now call it Cowley. I'm impressed that as a council officer, you want to look after that site, but I don't know if you're aware that your planning department actually want to put on 10 dwellings in Warren Crescent, which would severely impact on the SSSI site.
I am aware of that. I'm aware there's a planning application gone through. As part of that, it had to go to the governing body that regulates triple SI sites, and you have a perimeter of where the triple SI site is.
Yeah, but
they've taken that into consideration and say it goes a lot higher than what we are at the council to actually.
Okay,
get
can I make
there.
the point that yes, they've come up because the piece of land it is on is actually where the water runs down through to the SSSI. It's not actually the SSSI, it's along from it, but that's where the water goes down, the rainwater filters down through the earth, and it goes down to the SSSI.
Thames Water are actually involved on the planning side of it. Because
so what they've come up with
where the water's going to go
is what they call a mitigation system. It has never been tried before, and to try it in Oxford, in this site, which is only one of 3, and if they're wrong, and they could well be wrong, it's only ever this system is a way of putting like a channel with grass in it that will hold water when there's heavy rainfall and let it seep down naturally. That's the plan. It is used at the side of motorways all over the country. It works well for dispersing water from the motorway. This is a different system. This is trying to get water down to feed those very rare plants which are still in Lye Valley SSSI, and they will be lost. 100% sure. Absolute experts, not council experts, but real experts, academic experts who work on plant life. They are a botanist, Dr. Judy Webb. She
actually does a lot of support for the council.
She does, absolutely. It puts her in a very difficult position because she knows full well that this so-called mitigation system will not work, and that is why we have had to fight the council. So when you say you want to protect this SSSI, this beautiful piece of land which I've known now for almost 30 years, be aware that some of your colleagues are trying not to protect it. So that's a park that I've known that before it became a park, before the council in its wisdom decided to let everyone walk through it because they made a path, etc., at which point people went down there and had barbecues and ripped up the fencing that the council put in and built fires. And where we used to have nightingales, they're now long gone because they don't go where there's people. The stream has been blocked and reblocked and reblocked. The wild plants that grew all the way along the stream have been long destroyed and picked and trampled because too many people go there who don't understand what these plants are. Somebody went and dug out all the celandines because they'd obviously taken them to their garden. They probably won't grow. It's kind of celand. I might have got the name. It might be. I don't know. I'm not that good. I knew it was a yellow plant, and then suddenly it'd been dug out. So be aware. Be aware that there are some of these wonderful ideas to bring people into the countryside don't work until you've educated the people to look after it. There was a dedicated couple in our road who used to go down and clear the stream regularly. In the end, they left Oxford because they got so sick of trying to work with a council that wasn't really looking after the countryside. So that's one thing, is that part.
I think that's probably a few years ago.
It was a few years ago.
Yeah, because the way that we've done things, we've restructured our countryside team to be a little bit more supportive with groups and individuals that are willing to be volunteers. And I mentioned Carl's name before. Carl does an awful lot of work with volunteers in a lot of areas. He's doing a lot of work at the moment on just off.
But if you allow your planning people to put 10 houses on Warren Crescent, you might as well just forget the whole thing because you will destroy it. What's already happened when you put in a load of housing at Quarry, because there was a risk of flooding, a culvert was added, taking the water down into Lye Valley. The water level has lowered by 6 feet. All the sides of the banks, all that peat moss has been destroyed because of the amount of water that would rush through when there was heavy rain and then cut away the sides. You need to know this. Speak to Judy some more. So that's one part.
Judy, so what I will do, I will take away as an action for me is I am aware of the planning application, fully aware of that because they've spoken to our department. I also know there's a gentleman called Ian Haynes that was one of our operational managers. He was speaking to them. He was also liaising with Thames Water, looking at options.
So Ian Haynes cuts down trees that people don't want cut down in other areas. Be aware of that.
Unfortunately, Ian doesn't work for Oxford City Council anymore. He left last part of not long November time, so he's not with us anymore. We're
He's the one who emailed me.
Yeah. Be aware that the council. So please, can I ask the other questions about parks in general? Fit trails. This is not the first fit trail. First fit trail was put in Oxford about 25, 26 years ago, and the first place was South Parks. And what happened to those fit trails? When I was younger and fitter, I thought great. And then I went down there one day and somebody decided to have a bonfire. And the fit trails were virtually ripped out.
That was the old-fashioned type of gym trails, wasn't it?
It doesn't really matter. What I mean is that people didn't use them. On the whole, people didn't use them. And they just got used for something else instead. So far, the one at the bottom of South Park, I've actually seen one person once doing some pull-ups on it. The rest of the time, they're used as a bench for somebody to sit and have a picnic, somebody to sort out and change a child's nappy, That's what I've seen them used for, not for exercise. And but they are great for those that can use them. I'm not in a position to use them. About the only exercise I can do now is swim, because I've got multiple sclerosis triggered by an assault by a council officer. I have this condition which prevents me doing most exercise now. All I can do is swim. And a lot of people, as they get older, they can no longer do weight-bearing exercise. The only exercise they have left to maintain their health is swimming. And where can we swim in Cowley?
Okay, taking the swimming, as I said, I'm not here to answer about swimming. My apologies for that. But many thanks indeed for the rest of the questions. And I would say I will take that away with me. In relation to exercise and with your health conditions, we do a lot of work with the NHS, and we on a regular basis speak to them. We've got people that, actually our head of service is on, a gentleman called Ian Brook, he's on a forum with senior NHS people who talk about health and well-being and healthier lifestyles, and what we can do to improve areas within our parks is one of the topics.
You have to be able to walk to get around a park, or have to get in my wheelchair. That's not going to do me a great deal of good, is it?
Excuse me, could I just Mohammed, I think you wanted to speak, because we're running out of time. We've got about 10 minutes.
Mohammed, the lady at the front has just been very patient.
Okay, right. I want to thank you very much for your presentation, which I found really fascinating. And I also want to thank the council through the Parks Department for choosing a particular provider for the play areas. I think they're a really good company. I don't like outsourcing and so on, so for me to say that's quite the minor, well, no, big no actually, in relation to Motorway Park, for some reason, all the lights went out. There were two sorts, sun-operated ones and the ones which I think were associated to the cabling from the building site. I brought this up, well, it must be 9 months ago. I had the most appalling time.
Right,
with
the order.
And it's all down now.
Oh, is it?
Right.
Because we've had a massive issue with that. Is that it's south? The
SSE.
That's the one.
Yes. Scottish and Southern Electricity.
They have given an order.
It was Parks who was doing the order, and they presumably didn't follow it up. An extremely rude man. I won't mention his name. All the others.
Wasn't that Ian again? Was it? Wasn't that Ian again? Was it?
No, it was not that Ian again.
Oh.
No, it began with S. Anyhow, not David either, who I found excellent. But I don't know whether he's speaking to him. He was so unpleasant. He did finally get something to happen. And they did do, but it took yonks. It took weeks and weeks and months and months. And no, I don't live terribly near there, so it was occasionally I saw it. Oh, well, here we go. Now, this is poor.
Sorry,
Without question, this is poor. And I hope your Parks Department can go back and just think about thanking people who tell you the lights are up. No, that never happens.
I was going to just hopefully say to you, if I give you another contact going forward...
No, I don't ever want to do it again.
I'd appreciate it if you could. I will actually give you the right person, so you go straight through...
Well, tell Ed. I'll ring
I'll
Ed.
tell Ed. You read it. You like Ed, so I'll give Ed the details, because...
Please do.
What happens is when it comes to parks, we then have to give it to our corporate assets team, and they then have the contract with SEC. So.
And then it's this nasty back. And I did want to say something about community centres, which is, I'm very concerned about the community centre replacement by Green Square, because I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong, that the community centre in the Green Square project in Northway, they are going to be charged rent for the use of the space that they'll be allowed to have. And I also heard, and this may be completely wrong, they'd only have a 6-year lease on that one, and after that they might have no community centre at all. This is very serious, but I'll leave that with you, Christine.
Leave that with me. Yeah. When you say charge rent, you mean people that are using the community centre?
No, the association, the community centre association.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
there is a working committee on that, and they're on the community.
Because the council do give the rent, it's nominal of course, they give it to East Oxford Community Centre. So East Oxford Community Centre pay no rent, we do pay, what is it? Business charge at a charity rate, which you used to pay, but you don't now. But anyhow, so if you could look it up, because really, it's appalling. The council gives away, in inverted commas, in order to get houses built in an area that's overpopulated. Thank you.
That's Phil Jones. Sorry, that's Phil Jones. If you speak to Phil Jones on that one, he's on the working committee that's taken the whole project forward with Green Square and everything.
I will take that up for you. If you give me your contact details after this meeting, I will email you.
I think I have your email. I'll send you.
Yeah, I'm sure you. Yeah, would you do that? That'd be great.
Much easier.
Sorry, could Mohammed just have a word, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Mohammed Abbasi, City Councillor for Cowley Marsh Ward. Unfortunately, this Temple Cowley swimming pool is in my ward.
Very unfortunate.
Unfortunately, because I get blame from you people.
You are responsible. Every one of you is responsible for that being closed.
Yes, every one of you.
And we want it back, we want it back.
We would like it back.
We want it back.
We want
It's not being knocked down.
It's not going away.
And if you've already destroyed it, we'll have a new one.
Please.
It's not going away.
Okay, please speak.
All right, sorry, Excuse me, could you have a... Yes,
Sorry, she's very patient, and I didn't see her hand up. My apologies.
Abbasi hasn't finished his sentence.
All right, so you listen.
Yeah.
Because I don't speak when somebody else is speaking, so please listen to me. Cowley Marsh swimming pool, Temple Cowley swimming pool, that's where most of my family members used to go there, and they used to have a very good time there, and they complained to me. But beyond the scene, the engineering point of view, safety point of view, but whatever the officers have recommended, we had to be convinced that they are right, because it has its age. It was more than 50 years.
Rubbish! It was built in 1986.
Okay, but it was, according to the engineering department, it wasn't viable to maintain.
That's not true.
Okay.
Transparency.
We can show you the documents.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the people who have been working hard with the Save Temple Cowley Pool organization, especially Mr. Gibson and Jane Alexandra and all their friends. Really, I appreciate your efforts. But I wish it was in my hand to save it.
It was.
It was.
Each and every one.
Mohammed Abbasi at the Bullingdon Community Centre a couple of years ago at one of the area forums, you said to me personally, you came up to me quite quietly and you said, if I speak out on this issue, even though all my family asked me to, if I speak out, Bob Price will throw me out of the Labour Party.
No, I didn't say that.
You said that.
I said to you, I will back you up as much as I could. I will go as far as I can to save it. But that was in the initial stages. But after that, the things changed, and when I went to see the real facts, and it was very expensive to maintain, according to the engineering department.
No, look at the documents, Mohammed.
To carry on like that.
I will bring you the documents. I will bring them to your family who live nearby me.
I have
you can read them.
Was it not a deliberate
decentralization? Your efforts.
Yes.
Your efforts.
Progressive, deliberate decentralization.
Would you not interrupt, please?
The fact is that swimming pool is gone now.
No, it's not gone. It's still there.
Can you let me finish, please?
You can say that too. All of you.
Right, stop. Could this lady here have a question, please?
New swimming pool in Blackburn is functioning now since last Saturday. Cowley Marsh Park have got almost all the facilities of it. And the council is also, we are negotiating with the Aspires Academy to have the gym facilities in there. But the swimming pool itself, that is, as far as I know, is gone now.
It's not gone.
And the Regal Community Centre, that got to be redeveloped. So if you have any ideas So how to shape that legal community centre that got to be demolished and got to be done again. And in Cowley Marsh Park, if you can think any other facilities which are lacking in that park, so let me know and we'll do it.
Well, the first isn't a question. I said last summer I was really impressed by the way the councillors have really flourished in Cowley Marsh. That was great, and clearly they must have been planted, because I certainly don't remember seeing them many years ago. But what I did notice, which does concern me, is the way that people come in cars, apparently then to take exercise for their health, because they've got unhealthy food driving around everywhere. But, and if they can't find any hard standing or road or whatever park, they go on any grass they find. And I rather think there was evidence of this at Cowley Marsh. And certainly on Sunday I took the bus up to Blackbird Leys, and the place was absolutely awash with cars. They must have been blocking people's fronts and things. And they were certainly on open space grass where they could find a space, and there were ruts where they'd been coming out. And at this rate, I think, what do you think to do about this? Because I can't think that problem's going to go away.
In relation to Cowley Marsh, why are they parking at Cowley Marsh? Because there's a fence all around the main car park. I know it's
sorry. I mean,
is it Barrett's Lane? Are they going up Barrett's Lane at all?
Well, they could.
There's a barrier where Marsh Road is, isn't it? Sometimes
they all park up Crescent Road.
Sorry, this was last summer when I noticed the cars power slips. But I thought, but as I say, I'm 80 next month, and memory is not what it was. So
mine's not a new age.
I thought I did see cars parked where they shouldn't around whatever.
What I will do on that is,
but certainly Blackbird Leys.
In relation to Cowley Marsh, what we'll do is I'll highlight that to the park rangers, and we'll keep a better eye on it. If the cars are parked illegally, if you mention they're parking, sorry, the lady here said they might be parking up the lane if that barrier's up, we can enforce the barrier to come down, because it's H&S fencing that's supposed to manage that.
But it seems to me you'll need all your rangers in the Blackbird Leys area, because I used to cycle to Temple Cowley Pools. There's no way I could cycle to Blackbird Leys. I'd be too tired to swim. And I'm one of these oldies that swims to keep mobile. I'll try to spirited.
And to fend off disease.
Right. Yes. Take the final two questions, sorry now, because we were due to finish here at 8:30. We've overrun slightly, so take the last two questions. This lady here.
Thank you. I was just wondering, in the light of the council over the past few weeks announcing that £20 million worth of cuts, mostly to social care, would have to be made to make ends meet, whether anybody really thought that building a brand new pool was really such a good idea, because the money spent on that could have been so easily spent better in other places.
I could ask John to answer that, because there are two different pots of money.
So it's two different councils.
I'm aware of that, but it's the same principle, isn't it, really?
There would be no way that you could get you could say, well, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll spend more money on social care and we won't build that pool, because somebody somewhere would say you haven't got the right to do that because of city council money.
But that money that was spent on that pool, and I've heard various estimates between 9 million and 14 million, surely that would have been better off helping people that really need it, rather than putting in another pool when the other two were perfectly adequate, had the council not allowed them to run down.
And it's all our money.
I really am not competent to enter into the argument of whether the council allowed it to run down over the years.
Oh, they did.
Or which
Trust me, they did.
Or which council, because I do hear people blaming the Labour Party. My understanding was that the initial decision to close the pool was taken way, way back. There was a Liberal Democrat council.
But they were going to build a pool and an ice rink together.
Well, I mean,
that was the plan, not just to knock down all the pools. They were going to do a pool and an ice rink.
And if Labour was so kind and considered the people and wanted to keep the swimming pool, it didn't have to continue with the plan.
No, you have plenty of opportunity.
Right. Final question then, thank you.
Right, somebody mentioned Northway. Cowley's been asset stripped. The money from the Cowley Community Centre has gone down to Northway. It's given a nice new community centre with a bar, all the facilities, a sports hall, IT centre, everything. And Cowley's getting a proxy room, sorry to use that word, this size. And it's absolutely ridiculous. For 4,500 houses round here, we saw a really good community centre. We're getting rubbish now. We've thrown us a few peanuts and they treat teachers like monkeys.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sorry to say I used to be a Labour supporter, but I've been 4 years, I've been talking to Labour council. I know Christine and David get a lot of flack and they're new people on the block, but I've been talking to Bob Price and a lot of other councillors and nobody is listening. Labour has got a very deaf list, they won't listen.
I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry,
when
I'm
you say
frustrated.
When you say that people aren't listening, there are thousands of people that sent a petition. The petition has been presented to council. The Save Temple Cowley Pool people have made several presentations to City Council. Now, if you don't...
But excuse me,
that's not listening.
He was there when those presentations were made, and he had them written in front of him as well. He didn't have to just understand them by listening. Now that happened more than once, as you so rightly say. So how can he sit there and say what he said? I'm sorry. You know, yes, all the councillors had the information. They all, in the end, saw the presentation.
What I'm saying is that it's what you believe is that we weren't listening. I think what's happened is we did listen, but we didn't believe you. There's a difference between what we didn't believe you was right, that we didn't accept your argument, but we did listen. I mean, look, you know, how many times can you speak to us and say that we haven't listened? You've spoken to us so many times, and you're speaking to us again today.
And we're being told to shush all the time.
And you're not listening tonight.
Thank you.
There are about 30 of you and 3 of us, so it's a bit difficult for us.
John, could I just jump back in there? John Bunyan Centre, 3-4 years ago, we had a big meeting about the County Community Centre. It was packed solid, it was shoulder to shoulder. Bob Price was there. And everybody, I stood up and spoke, everybody said they wanted a new community centre. What do we get? A lazy room. And nobody would listen.
Right, they did listen.
Sorry, excuse me, there's a table tennis group starting here at 8:30, so we've overrun. So thanks very much for coming along. And can we bring the chairs back, please? Because that'll help the table tennis.